Discover how a millionaire's mistaken ride led to an incredible, life-changing surprise for both. Jack Thompson wiped the sweat off his brow with the back of his hand, grease smudging his face like battle paint. He'd been at it since dawn, crawling under cars, cranking wrenches, and doing everything to keep his small repair shop running. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work, something he wanted to pass down to Mia, his spirited 16-year-old daughter. As he stood up, the familiar sound of laughter filtered through the open bay doors, bringing a smile to his face. Mia was helping him today, flipping burgers for a local charity event that seemed to bring the neighborhood together every autumn. They were a family, even without the usual drama, just two hearts beating in a small, modest house filled with warmth and love, despite the burden of bills looming ever closer. But on this seemingly ordinary day, fate had other plans. As Jack headed outside to grab lunch, a sleek, black sports car pulled into the lot, its shiny curves catching the eye like a siren calling for the shore. Out stepped Robert Harrison, a millionaire who made headlines almost weekly for his extravagant lifestyle. Jack's heart raced as Robert entered the shop while talking on his phone, the very definition of posh send-ups that twinkled around him like diamonds. Little did Robert know, he would soon make a grave error that would change both their lives forever. Before Jack could say a word, Robert hopped into Jack's old pickup, mistaking it for his own. "Wait!" Jack shouted, a mix of urgency and disbelief coursing through him. But it was too late. Robert backed out, almost causing a scene. They met again at the local community center, where their lives collided amid a food drive bustling with laughter and kindness. Jack, with his rough hands and humble clothes, was the epitome of hard work, a real hero in his own right. Robert, all crisp suits and polished manners, stood out like a bird among squirrels. They exchanged curious glances that spoke volumes, and as fate would have it, the two men ended up working shoulder to shoulder. "Why do you put so much effort into this?" Robert asked after hearing Jack share his story about Mia's dream of college. Each shared word formed a connection, bridging the gap between their worlds. Jack, with unwavering conviction, spoke of integrity and perseverance, showcasing a tenacity that most wealth hardly matched. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As their camaraderie blossomed, Robert extended an offer that hung heavy in the air like thunderclouds, an invitation to work in his corporate empire. The allure of a steady paycheck was tempting, especially with bills stacked like a tower of unfinished dreams. Jack felt torn, the weight of a father's love tugging against the roots of his work ethic. "Take the offer. You deserve it," Mia nudged him later, her eyes glistening with the promise of a new chapter. But deep down, Jack knew he was standing at a precarious crossroads. One choice could lift them out of hardship, the other could risk everything he had ever instilled in his daughter. As the community center glowed with gratitude and connections, the reality of a decision loomed large. Just when Jack thought he understood what true success meant, an unexpected event unspooled their new friendship, bringing with it a revelation that could affect not just him, but families like theirs everywhere. Would Jack seize the offer to ensure a future or hold fast to his principles, risking it all? The weight of choices loomed as decisions buzzed like the lively chatter of the crowd around them, leaving everything hanging by a thread, waiting for a single decision that would change their stories forever. Jack stood on the smooth floor of the community center, the scent of sizzling burgers still lingering in the air, and felt the weight of the choice pressing down on him. Robert's offer swirled in his mind like a dizzying carousel. The flashing lights of instant success contrasted starkly with the steady hum of his life as a mechanic, where each small job and customer retention felt like the steady beat of a trustworthy drum. Mia's voice echoed in his ears, her excitement palpable when she urged him to seize the opportunity. Yet, every time Jack glanced back at his daughter flipping burgers, with her laughter mixing with the voices around them, doubt crept back in. He couldn't shake the thought of what it would mean to leave behind the shop, the only legacy he had built with his hands. Across the hall, Robert moved among the volunteers, effortlessly charming everyone he interacted with. Jack watched as the millionaire made a child giggle while handing out toys collected for the drive, his smile infectious. It struck Jack then that Robert, for all his wealth and polish, seemed genuine in his intentions. Perhaps there was more than just a paycheck in the man's offer. Maybe it was a chance to learn, to grow, to change lives, not just his own but perhaps even Mia's. But what about the heart behind hard work? What would Jack be teaching Mia if he walked away? His heart twisted at the thought, the selfishness of abandoning the values they held dear seeping into his consciousness. He took a deep breath and walked toward Robert, caught between curiosity and fear. "Hey, Robert," he ventured slowly, trying to steady the rush of thoughts swirling in his head.
"Jack." Robert beamed, extending a hand. "Glad you could make it back. How's it going?"
"I've been thinking about your offer," Jack admitted, his heart racing as the words came tumbling out.
Robert's expression switched from friendly to serious, and that made Jack even more nervous. Was he ready for this kind of leap? "Good. I think it could be a great opportunity for you. But I also think it's a big decision. What's holding you back?"
Robert asked, his voice gentle, as if he truly wanted to understand. Jack glanced over at Mia as she interacted with other kids, their laughter warming his heart.
"I want to make sure I'm doing right by her. I don't want to give up what we've built for a paycheck. But maybe I'm just scared of change." Robert nodded slowly, and for a moment, the two men stood in silence, both grappling with their own definitions of success. "You know," Robert said, "life is about taking chances. But it's also about building something meaningful. We can find a balance between the two."
"I appreciate that," Jack said, engaging in Robert's eyes, seeking sincerity. Suddenly, the orange and pink colors of sunset spilled through the windows of the community center, bathing them in soft light. For a fleeting moment, Jack felt hope. Maybe this was a sign, a gentle nudge to embrace change without losing the essence of why he worked so hard in the first place. Before Jack could articulate his feelings further, the sound of commotion caught his attention. A group of children dashed past, some bumping into tables, sending a couple of drinks toppling over. Laughter erupted, but amidst the joy, Jack felt something shift in the air.
"What's going on?" he asked, and Robert turned toward the chaos unfolding, concern etched on his face.
Suddenly, the laughter stopped, replaced by gasps. Jack's heart sank when he saw a woman fall to the ground, clutching her chest, panic flashing in her eyes. The mood shifted from joyous to anxious in an instant, making the warmth of the sunset feel cold. That moment of truth arrived, forcing Jack to reassess everything he thought he knew about family, community, and what it truly meant to step up when it mattered most. Would he follow through on accepting change, or would he take a step back and champion his roots of hard work in this moment of need? As he rushed to help, one question lingered in his mind: was this a defining moment meant to send him on a path written by chance, or would he write his own story with the choices he was about to face? Jack sprinted toward the fallen woman, his heart pounding in rhythm with his quickened steps. Panic surged through the crowd, voices blending into a cacophony of fear. As he reached her side, he knelt down, trying to focus on her face instead of the grim reality of her condition.
"Can you hear me?"
"Help is coming," he shouted, hoping to calm not just her but also himself. Her eyes were wide with terror, breath shallow and shaky. People began to gather, some dialing 911, while others formed a barrier against the chaos. Jack could barely catch a glimpse of Mia through the sea of worried faces. He trusted she was safe, perhaps even helping out from afar. With every second that passed, his training from years in the shop kicked in. It wasn't unlike fixing a car: find the problem, stay focused, and do what you can to help. "Stay with me, please," he urged the woman, his voice steady despite the rising tide of uncertainty in his stomach.
"What's your name?"
"And," she gasped, gripping Jack's arm tightly.
"And, you're going to be okay."
"We're going to get you help," he reassured her, but felt the weight of doubt creep in.
What if she didn't make it?
The question pierced his resolve, piercing the facade of control he tried to maintain. Then, he caught a glimpse of Robert, who was at the edge of the group, watching with an intensity that seemed to spark urgency into the crowd. Jack admired the man's confidence, but right now, he wished he could share that strength. Moments stretched long as sirens wailed in the distance, bringing a sense of hope. The anxiety in Jack's chest began to ease ever so slightly, replaced by raw determination.
He leaned closer to and tried to distract her. "You're at a community event. Do you have kids? A family?"
Her breathing steadied a fraction, and a soft smile flickered across her lips. 2 kids. At my sister's. They just learned to ride their bikes. That's awesome. Biking is a big deal. Jack responded, trying to keep the connection going through her fear. They'll be so proud when you tell them you helped fix this place, right? As in nodded, Jack felt a warm surge of hope, belief hanging on the edge of every word. He caught sight of Mia again. She was now standing alongside Robert, her eyes wide but determined. The girl must have sensed something serious was going on. Just then, the paramedics arrived, their presence a wave of relief. They quickly assessed Anne's condition, working seamlessly to stabilize her. Jack moved aside as they took over, feeling a strange mix of accomplishment and vulnerability. He had stepped up in a way that he hadn't anticipated, that perhaps he was capable of so much more than just the familiar routine of the shop or burger flips. Good job, Jack, Robert said, appearing beside him, his voice calm amidst the chaos. You're a natural leader. Jack shook his head, emotions bubbling up within him. I'm just a mechanic. I wasn't prepared for this. Sometimes, we step into roles we didn't know we could play. Maybe this moment reveals what you're truly capable of, Robert replied, watching as the paramedics loaded and into the ambulance, a determined gleam in his eyes. In that instant, Jack's heart twisted yet again, for he knew Robert was more than just a millionaire looking to maneuver him into a life of ease. This was about human connection, stepping up when it mattered most, when every choice defined who they were. Mia approached, her little hand gripping his tightly, her face a mixture of concern and admiration. Dad, are you okay? Jack smiled softly, kneeling to her height. Yeah, honey, I'm okay. Just trying to help. But even as he said it, he felt a different kind of shift within him, a pull towards taking chances, towards stepping beyond the lines he had drawn around his life. Before he could voice his thoughts, Robert spoke up again. Would you consider my offer, Jack? This is the kind of leadership you could bring to a bigger platform. You just proved you can make a difference. Jack froze, breathing in the moment. Did he dare ask the kind of questions that define a life? What did all of this mean for their future? As the ambulance drove away, carrying in and leaving a quiet hope behind, Jack felt the horizon of his choices expanding, igniting a fire in his gut. Could he fuse the life he loved with the unknown path ahead? Would it be worth the risk? In that swirl of emotions, Jack knew he stood at a crossroads again. And this time, he felt he should take one more step rather than pull back. But as Robert looked at him, expectation and possibility mingling in the air, Jack had to ask himself, was he ready for the challenge waiting just beyond the edge of his comfort zone? The sirens faded into the distance, but the noise still echoed in Jack's mind. He stood there, feeling Mia's small hands still wrapped around his fingers. He watched the ambulance disappear, taking it away and leaving behind an unsettling mix of gratitude and worry. Dad, can we go home? Mia asked, her voice small amidst the lingering chaos. Her innocence tugged at him, grounding him momentarily. Sure, sweetie. Let us go. He scooped her up gently and started walking, but his mind was still racing. How could a life change at the speed of that ambulance? Robert fell into step beside them as they headed back toward their car. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the chaotic scene, stark against the uneasiness inside Jack's heart. He felt Robert's presence like a weight, heavy but motivating. You're thinking about it, aren't you? Robert asked, breaking the silence. Jack stared straight ahead, the trees blurring into streaks of green. Thinking about what? About my offer. Robert's voice was steady, but Jack could hear the anticipation beneath. You know you can do more, Jack. You have a gift. A gift? I'm just a guy who fixes cars, Jack replied, the defensive edge in his voice almost surprising him. Sure, but today, you didn't just fix a car. You connected with someone when they needed it most. You had the power to bring hope, Robert pressed, his tone gentle yet insistent. Mia looked between the two men, her eyebrows knitting in confusion. Jack felt a chuckle bubble up but swallowed it back. You're just saying that because you want me to join your ranks, Robert, Jack said, trying to deflect and avoid facing the truth that was clawing at him.
No. I'm saying it because it's real. Look at how you handled the situation. People need someone like you to step up. They need courage. Robert paused, glancing at Mia.
Especially in these unpredictable times. They reached the car, and Jack set Mia down, struggling to digest Robert's words.
Was this really about courage? Or was it about his fear of change?
As he opened the car door, Jack felt Mia slip her hand into his once again, this time squeezing tightly, as if sensing his internal battle.
Dad, do you want to help people?
Her question struck him like a lightning bolt.
Did he want to help people? Yes, deep down, he did.
But it seemed so far from the grease-stained days and late-night shifts he was used to. The words won't come as he caught Robert's hopeful gaze. I don't know if I'm the right guy for that, trust me, you are, Robert encouraged.
All you need is that first step. And I can help you. You don't have to do it alone.
Jack leaned against the car, the world around him fading. He pictured Anne's terrified face, then the flicker of courage that had sparked between them.
Maybe Robert was right. What if I fail? Jack finally managed to ask.
Then you learn, Robert replied simply.
Isn't that what we all do?
Jack looked at Mia, her bright eyes shining with unwavering faith in him. He felt something stir inside, like a dormant seed sprouting for the first time. Maybe that struggle was what brought depth to a life worth living. Okay, Jack breathed out, the word barely making it past his lips.
Let us talk about it.
Suddenly, a commotion from nearby caught his attention.
Shrill voices filled the air, something seemed amiss.
Jack turned instinctively, adrenaline flooding back through his veins. Mia, stay close, he instructed, but his gaze remained fixed on the crowd clustering around a different scene unfolding.
What is happening? Mia asked, her small voice full of curiosity.
I don't know, he muttered, feeling that familiar tug of responsibility welling up inside him. Robert stepped forward, assessing the situation.
Looks like another emergency. We can't just stand by, Jack. This could be another chance for you.
His stomach knotted as he glanced back at Mia, then toward the growing crowd.
Was he really ready to jump into another unknown? The moment was electric, poised on the edge of possibility, a chance to prove himself once again. Could he really step up like that? As they moved closer, heart racing, Jack had to confront the question lingering on his heart. Was this the moment he was meant to embrace for good? And if so, what would it reveal about the man he was becoming?
Jack felt the blood rush in his veins, a mix of sun-soaked adrenaline and the weight of uncertainty. The crowd swelled, a wave of murmurs cascading over him. He spotted a woman on the ground, hands clasped to her chest, surrounded by worried faces.
Panic clung to the air like a heavy fog. What happened? He asked, urgency fueling his curiosity.
Just stumbled and fell, a passerby replied, their voice tense.
She can't catch her breath.
Mia's grip on his hand tightened, and he could feel her little heart beating rapidly in time with his own. Instinct kicked in, pushing him forward. Stay here, Mia, he said, more as a beacon of reassurance for himself than for her.
No, Dad.
She protested, her small body stubbornly shifting at his side. Jack turned back toward the group, where Robert was already knelt beside the woman, checking for injuries. The old engine of self-doubt churned within him. But now was not the time for that spiraling thought. Almost magnetically, he felt himself drawn to the crowd, his feet moving before his mind could catch up.
Do you need help?
He asked, kneeling next to Robert. The woman's face was pale, her eyes darting around in distress, and Jack's heart twisted. Yeah, I think she is hyperventilating, Robert said, voice steady, his hands guiding the woman's breathing.
Can you help? Jack nodded, his stomach nodding again. What do I do?
Just talk to her, Robert instructed, meeting his gaze with an encouraging nod.
Keep her focused.
He leaned closer, his eyes locking onto hers. You're okay, he urged, maintaining a calm tone.
Just breathe with me. In and out. Slow breaths in and out, just like he had seen on TV. But was he really the one to help?
He felt like a deer in headlights, until he noticed Mia watching right beside him, her expression filled with resolve.
"Look, your daughter is here with you," he whispered to the woman. "You're not alone. Just listen to my voice."
As the woman focused on Jack, her breath started to slow.
With each moment, the chaos slipped away, pulling in the fragmented pieces and mingling them with hope. "Good." "Just like that," Jack continued.
He could feel the weight of responsibility hanging in the air, and yet also its strange exhilaration.
"Jack, keep it steady,"
Robert called out, and Jack nodded, channeling every ounce of strength he had into his voice and presence.
Slowly, the color returned to the woman's face. Relief poured in like sunshine breaking through dark clouds. "See?
You did it," Jack said gently and, for the first time, felt a crack of self-doubt shatter. Perhaps he was more than a mechanic, perhaps today he had a new purpose. As sirens soon echoed from the distance, the crowd began to part. Emergency responders emerged, focusing on the woman now resting comfortably against Jack's hand. The warmth in his chest swelled, anchoring him to this unfolding moment. Mia tugged at his sleeve. "Dad, you were really brave," she said, her wide eyes radiant with admiration.
Jack's heart soared. Maybe she was right. Or maybe it wasn't about being brave.
Maybe it was about being present, about responding with love to those around him. As the paramedics took over, Jack stepped back, letting them do their work. He felt a magnetic draw back to Robert, who was watching him, a knowing smile on his face.
"You see?" Robert said. "This is just the beginning. There's so much you can do." Jack's mind raced again. What if he really could make a difference? What would that look like for him, for Mia?
But questions swirled like leaves in a storm, quick and unsettled.
Where could this new path lead?
And was he truly ready to embrace it? As the scene began to calm, a wave of realization washed over him. This moment felt like a door opening to a corridor of possibilities waiting to be explored. With every heartbeat, Jack knew he was on the cusp of something greater. Could he really let go of the past and step bravely into the future? The silent fear danced in the back of his mind, yet here was an undeniable truth: things had already changed. Next to the calm of that chaotic aftermath, a new question formed, bright
and shining. What else would he discover about himself if he dared to take that leap?
The chaos around him began to dissipate, but the energy within Jack was still crackling like a live wire. He watched as the paramedics expertly tended to the woman, feeling a mix of relief and exhilaration. Mia, still by his side, looked up at him with an admiration that warmed his chest like a gentle sunbeam. Jack felt an urge to squeeze her hand, to reaffirm their bond in this new space where he was no longer just a mechanic.
"Can we help them?" Mia asked, her small voice filled with eagerness. Jack thought for a moment, was there more he could do?
The image of the woman's panic ignited a fire in him, a desire to push past his own self-doubt and take an active role. Before he could respond, Robert approached, still visibly impressed.
"You were great, Jack. You know, you should consider training for this.
There is so much need for people who can step up like you did today." Jack met Robert's gaze and felt a spark of hope lit within him.
"Training?"
he echoed, his mind racing.
Could he really see himself as a first responder?
Images flitted through his mind: someone on the scene, clear-headed and strong, just like Robert.
Would people depend on him?
Sensing a shift within, he began to nod slowly.
"Yeah, I could." The words trailed off as he and Robert exchanged a knowing smile.
Yet hesitation flickered at the corners of Jack's thoughts.
Could this be his calling? What about the shop? The bills? His responsibilities? Mia's voice cut through the haze. "Dad, look."
She pointed excitedly as the paramedics wheeled the woman away on a stretcher, her face now serene.
"See? She's okay."
Jack's heart swelled at her enthusiasm, and he realized this was about more than just a moment. This was about learning to navigate not just emergencies, but life itself. Later, as they made their way back to their car, Jack felt a shift in the air. It was as if the hum of the world had changed just slightly, as if some unseen thread had woven a new fabric into the tapestry of their lives. Driving through the familiar streets, everything seemed to glisten with potential.
"Dad, are you going to help people more now?"
Mia asked, her honest curiosity lighting up the car's interior. Jack turned toward her, caught off guard. This bright-eyed child saw the world with an optimism that was infectious. "I don't know yet, but maybe I could," he replied, voice steady, but internally he wrestled with the implications. What would it mean to dive into something so foreign? Mia leaned back in her seat and smiled. "You would be the best helper. You saved that lady." Jack laughed lightly, feeling the weight of her belief settle warmly in his heart. Was it enough to just feel the desire, or did it require a commitment? He turned the radio dial, letting the soft music fill the car. How could he chase this urge to do more, to be more, without losing sight of what needed safeguarding at home? Dark clouds began to gather in the distance, mirroring the swirl of thoughts racing within him. There was uncertainty in stepping into this new chapter. What if I can't do it? Jack whispered to himself, the worry creeping in. But then he felt Mia's small hand clasp his tightly as she nestled against him. "Dad, it's okay. Just try," she chirped, her faith wrapping around him like a warm blanket. The thought swirled like the storm clouds behind them. What if he truly embraced this path? What if he proved to himself that there was strength he hadn't acknowledged before? As they pulled into their driveway, the questions loomed ahead. There was a shift in his heart, a quiet determination blossoming, ready to take on life's challenges head-on. Could he really step out into the unknown and discover where it led? What awaited him on the other side of fear and hesitation? The moment felt to Jack like a turning point, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something remarkable was waiting just beyond his comfort zone. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow across their small yard, Jack sat on the porch, the cool evening air swirling around them. He leaned back in his chair, feet propped on the railing, lost in thought. Mia was playing in the grass, wildflowers weaving through her hair like a crown, her laughter ringing out like music. Her joy wasn't just contagious, it felt vital, as if it could heal the uncertainty gnawing at him. He tapped his fingers nervously against the wooden armrest, weighing the reality of change. Was he truly ready? The urge to help had ignited something deep within, but the flame flickered in rhythm with the fears in his mind, doubts whispering, "You're just a mechanic." "Hey, Dad!" Mia shouted, running toward him, hands outstretched like a kid greeting an old friend. "Look what I found!" In her palm rested a tiny caterpillar, its vibrant green body crawling with purpose. Fascination danced in her wide eyes. "Can we keep it?" Jack smiled, leaning closer to inspect the creature. "We can watch it for a bit, but it's probably got places to go." He chuckled lightly, the thought pushed back the shadow in his mind. She nodded, an understanding one so deep that it never needed words. They let the caterpillar crawl over her finger, both captivated by its small life. Watching it in the simple moment reminded Jack that even the tiniest being went through changes, and maybe he could too. Just then, the rumble of a car pulling into the driveway interrupted their reverie. Jack looked up to see Robert emerging from his vehicle, a sense of urgency in his step. "Jack!" he called, waves of energy radiating off him. "I thought I'd stop by to see how you're doing after today." Jack stood, the warmth of their earlier conversation creeping back. "I'm good, just thinking," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Mia looked up, curiosity piqued. "Uncle Robert, we found a caterpillar." "Wow, a little explorer," Robert said, squatting down to Mia's level. "You know, they turn into butterflies, right? They have to go through a big change." Jack's heart skipped a beat. The analogy hung in the air, and he couldn't help but feel as if it was meant for him. "A butterfly?" Mia echoed, her eyes sparkling. "Like Dad?" Robert chuckled. "Exactly. Just like your dad." The compliment felt like a warm embrace. But then doubt crept back. What did it mean for him to transform? What kind of dad did he want to be? "Let me think about it," Jack finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Think about what?" Robert nudged, genuinely curious. "Helping people, I guess." Robert smiled knowingly. "It's a big step, Jack, but just think how much even a small commitment could mean for someone else." As they engaged in this heart-to-heart, Jack grasped Robert's words like a lifeline. The world was bigger than the shop,
bigger than himself. What if he stepped into a realm where he could be more? The baseline of the conversation shifted, similar to how the sun began to dip lower, a shift he couldn't deny. He felt something stirring deep inside, igniting the anticipation of change, pushing him to confront his fears. What if I really wanted to become a first responder? Jack murmured, half to himself. Mia's small fingers intertwined with his, familiar and comforting. Then you should try. Just go for it. A chaos of emotions welled up within him, exhilaration mixing with uncertainty. He looked up at Robert, who nodded, encouragingly. You're already on that path. Just take the leap. As evening deepened, shadows stretched across the porch. Jack sat contemplating the warmth of their small family while the thought of leap resided within him. In the distance, a siren wailed briefly, a reminder of the life-changing decisions that awaited. What new lessons would greet him? What bravery would it take? The questions gathered, filling the space like a rising tide, drawing him toward a decision that could change everything. He had to know. With the last hues of daylight washed away, Jack felt the pull of the night enveloping him, turning the garden into a silhouette against the deepening sky. The sounds of Mia's laughter faded briefly, replaced by the rhythm of his own heart, pounding to the questions swirling in his head. What did it mean to leap into the unknown? Did he have what it takes to step into a role that demanded more than he had ever given? Can I hold the caterpillar again? Mia's voice snapped him out of his thoughts, her big, hopeful eyes shining fiercely in the twilight. Holding it out like a treasure, she miraculously seemed to carry the weight of the world's optimism. Jack squeezed her tiny hand, fighting the wave of self-doubt that threatened to sweep him under. Absolutely. Let us see what our little friend is up to. He focused on the caterpillar, its slow movements reminding him that transformation took time. Do you think we can watch it turn into a butterfly? Mia asked, her voice gleaming with innocence and excitement. Maybe we can, Jack replied. But it has to go through a lot of things first. Just like we do. His words, simple yet laden with truth, hung between them a moment longer, instilling a sense of comfort amidst his fears. Robert stood back, observing them with a small smile on his face. You learn from the little ones, don't you? They see life in a way that's refreshing. You could learn a thing or two from Mia. Jack caught Robert's expression, a mix of mirth and encouragement. Perhaps it was the reminder he needed, a nudge from a friend who believed in him when he didn't even believe in himself. Alright, here's the deal, Jack decided, feeling compelled to let the momentum build. What if we document our caterpillar's journey? Take notes, and maybe even sketch it? Can we write a story? Mia asked, her eyes gleaming. A story? Yes. A real adventure. Jack mirrored her enthusiasm, the idea lighting something within him. What if he chronicled not just the caterpillar's journey but his own? Just like a hero. Mia said, jumping up and down. And you'll be the hero too, Dad. Maybe, he muttered, dipping into a well of uncertainty once again. Can I really become a hero? But as he looked into Mia's expectant gaze, something shifted. The doubts began to loosen their grip, and a flicker of courage sparked. Let us start tonight. Robert exclaimed, banishing the shadows that had begun to wrap around Jack's heart. Write down what you feel. And remember, every hero's journey starts with a decision. Yours just might look different than you think. Mia clapped her hands, bubbling with excitement at the thought of turning their little project into a grand tale. Perhaps like the caterpillar, he too could find the resolve to break free of the chrysalis of self-doubt that encased him. The air shifted as the night deepened. Jack took a deep breath, the stars twinkling above like a sprinkling of hope. All right, I'll do it. I'll try for a change. For you, and for us. As the three of them huddled together to brainstorm their story, a sudden siren wailed in the distance, once again a reminder of the men and women out there answering the call. A sense of urgency coursed through Jack. What would he write about next? What hurdles would he have to overcome to transform into the father, the person he wanted to be? The journey had only just begun, and its twists and turns awaited. Could he really step into the shoes of a hero? The night deepened around them, crickets chirping in the cadence of countless stories waiting to unfold. Jack's fingers tingled with anticipation as he imagined how their project would take form.
Together, under the starry expanse, they began to brainstorm ideas. Mia leaned closer, her breath warm against Jack's arm.
What if the caterpillar meets all kinds of new friends?
She grinned, eyes sparkling like the stars.
Like a wise old turtle or a funny bunny. Or maybe a brave little bird who shows it how to fly.
Robert added, his enthusiasm contagious. Jack nodded, heart quickening as he scribbled down their ideas. With every word, he felt a layer of doubt peel away, revealing flickers of anticipation. Maybe sharing this journey would serve as a mirror for his own each twist and challenge, transforming not just the caterpillar, but him too.
Let us embrace the adventure,
Jack exclaimed, his voice gaining strength.
Just like that caterpillar must learn about the world, I will too.
Mia puffed her chest with pride.
You're already being a hero, Dad. The compliments swirled joy into the thoughtful moment. Jack felt a warmth rise from within, illuminating the corners of his doubt.
They huddled closer, voices overlapping as they crafted characters, plots, and thrilling escapades, but amid the laughter, a shadow crossed Jack's heart.
What if he didn't have enough to give?
What if the courage he felt was a flicker destined to fade? As if sensing his unease, Robert placed a hand on Jack's shoulder.
This is just the beginning, my friend.
Every great story has its challenges, but it's how we face them that defines us.
Jack nodded, absorbing the truth in Robert's words.
He had spent too long worrying about what might go wrong, about the man he might not be.
What happens when the caterpillar finally becomes a butterfly? Mia's question pulled him back into their world. It was profound, yet innocent. Could change be something beautiful?
Freedom, Jack said slowly, feeling the certainty in his voice. It finds its wings when it's ready.
Just like we must find ours. Mia squealed, clapping her hands again. Then I can help you find your wings too.
They continued weaving the tale, but somewhere in the back of Jack's mind, the siren's call returned, a constant reminder of his responsibilities and the life he was trying to piece back together. As the night wore on, the laughter faded, replaced by a courier of doubt once more. Did he really have the ability to transform, to rise from the ashes of his past? An hour later, as they wrapped up their plotting, Robert suggested they take a break.
Let us grab some hot cocoa. Can't write an adventure on an empty stomach.
As they walked inside, the air carrying the cozy scent of chocolate, Jack felt a renewed determination inside him. This was more than a story, this was his chance to become the hero.
Yet a curiosity lingered in the back of his mind. What if the journey ahead held surprises he could never see coming?
What if, just like the caterpillar, he turned into something extraordinary, beyond what he could envision? Returning to the living room, Jack caught sight of Mia's hopeful gaze in the warm glow of the lamp.
It struck him all at once.
He had the power to inspire, to not only change himself but perhaps even leave a legacy for Mia, a story that would outlast them both.
But would he have the strength to follow through when faced with real challenges?
As he poured the cocoa, he could hear the faint sirens again, echoing through his thoughts. This was just the start of a larger hero's journey.
How far would he be willing to go to chase his wings?
As dawn broke, Jack Thompson found himself in an unusual state of calmness.
The night's whirlwind of thoughts had settled into clarity.
The sweet scent of coffee brewed in the kitchen, mixing with the promise of a new day. Sitting at the modest table, he glanced across at Mia, her innocent enthusiasm filling the room with warmth as she sketched their caterpillar adventure on a clean sheet of paper.
"Dad, look!"
she exclaimed, revealing her drawings. There were butterflies, birds, and trees, each one dancing with vibrant energy.
Jack couldn't help but smile.
For the first time in a long time, joy bubbled up in him, muted doubts momentarily quieted.
"I love it, sweetie.
You're already a great storyteller." Mia beamed with pride, the glow of her laughter lighting up the space. But deep within him, Jack felt something more profound stirring, a sense of purpose ignited by the moments of heroism he had touched just yesterday, and the calling lingering in his heart to help her. With determination flickering in the back of his mind, Jack made a decision. Today, they would visit the community center, not just to help but also to share their project with others. Perhaps their caterpillar story could inspire hope. perhaps they could spark change in a world that often needed it most.
Are you ready for an adventure? Jack asked, pulling on his jacket. Mia's eyes lit up. Yeah. Let us go be heroes. As they drove towards the community center, the usual hum of the engine couldn't drown out the rhythm of Jack's heartbeat. Each moment spent around Robert, each shared experience of helping others had left an indelible mark on him. This was more than a chance to step beyond the walls of his shop, it was a moment to embrace a larger role in their community in courage and spirit. Upon arriving, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. Volunteers moved around, prepping for the Day South food drive, laughter and chatter mingled in a joyful symphony. As Jack and Mia set up their table, showcasing their caterpillar drawings and notes, he felt a sense of belonging settle over him, wrapping him like a cocoon. Soon, children began to gather, their eyes wide with curiosity. Mia took the lead. Everyone, we have a story about a caterpillar that becomes a butterfly. Jack watched with a full heart as his daughter enchanted the audience. Her voice soared, carrying the underlying message of transformation. Through her storytelling, she reminded everyone of the potential for growth, for change amid uncertainty, a reflection of Jack's own journey. Then, as if the universe was conspiring to further ignite this transformative spark, Robert appeared. Jack! How wonderful to see you both! He said, joining the crowd, his presence commanding the attention of onlookers. Hi, Robert. Mia waved happily. We're telling a story. Perfect timing, Robert replied, the warmth in his eyes mirroring Jack's own pride for Mia. Does this story have any lessons for us? Yeah. That change is good. Mia said, brightening at the chance to share. The children nodded, eager to engage. As Jack stood by, watching them interact, a wave of gratitude washed over him. His heart swelled not just for Mia, taking steps toward her own adventures, but for his own journey toward self-discovery. With Robert's inspiring presence near, Jack felt compelled to share, and just like the caterpillar, we all face challenges. But within those challenges lies the potential for greatness. We must embrace change, not fear it. Applause erupted from the small crowd, the connection palpable, hearts uplifted, minds inspired. In that moment, Jack felt the gears turning, marking a turning point in his story. As the afternoon melted into an embrace of golden light, Jack stood beside Mia, both facing the crowd. It was perfect. Today they fostered community, connected through shared experiences, and in the act of daring to help, Jack had discovered his own wings too. Back home that evening, the scent of the day's victories lingered. Jack and Mia shared their tales, thriving on the energy that had filled the community center. They worked together more on the story, laughter overflowing under the kitchen lights. Jack realized he had started his journey to becoming a first responder not just in title, but in heart. It was a path anchored by the true desire to help and inspire. They would continue crafting their Caterpillar-esque adventure, but more importantly, they were ready to explore the journeys within themselves as well. And that was just the beginning. At this moment, if you felt something shift as Jack did, then you need to subscribe now to the channel to keep following incredible stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and amplify these transformations. We want to hear from you. Comment your thoughts and feelings about the ending, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this. Let us spread that newfound courage. Remember, true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.